What really happened to Kmart? The rise and fall of a retail icon. Do you remember Kmart, once known as America's discount superstore king? For a time, Kmart was synonymous with famous brands, endless bargains, and a monthly, even weekly destination for millions of American families. But today, those familiar signs are merely a memory, with only a few stores left standing on American soil. What happened to this renowned retail empire? Join us as we go back to Kmart's golden age, before the bankruptcies and rapid changes occurred, to uncover why an American icon almost vanished. Kmart's golden age. Kmart didn't just appear out of nowhere. It has a rich history, stemming from a beloved chain of discount stores. Origins and explosive growth. Kmart's history began in 1899, when it was founded under the name S.S. Kresge and Company. Initially, it was a 5 and 10 cent store chain, specializing in selling products at extremely affordable prices, targeting the majority of American consumers. This model was very popular at the time, meeting the thrifty shopping needs of families. S.S. Kresge and Company quickly grew and became a familiar name in the retail industry. The biggest turning point in the company's history came on January 25, 1962, when the first store named Kmart officially opened in San Fernando, California. This marked the birth of a new retail model, a large discount store chain, different from traditional 5 and 10 cent stores. This event ushered in a new era for American retail. Kmart's growth truly boomed in the following decades. By the 1980s, Kmart had solidified its dominant position in the discount retail sector across the United States. The company boasted an impressive network of over 2,400 stores, spanning all 50 states. This number not only speaks to its scale, but also its widespread presence. From major cities to small towns, Kmart became an indispensable part of daily American life. With its extensive presence and efficient business model, Kmart proudly earned the title King of American Discount Stores. This title wasn't just a nickname. It accurately reflected Kmart's status and influence at the time. A true retail empire, where millions of Americans went to shop for the best prices. Legendary features that defined Kmart. One of the most famous, unmistakable symbols of Kmart was the blue light special. Just hearing the loudspeaker echo the familiar phrase, "Attention Kmart shoppers," component placement, accompanied by a flashing blue light on a mobile pole, everyone knew that a sudden flash discount was about to begin. This wasn't just a promotion, it was an event, a thrilling experience that customers eagerly anticipated. The blue light special created a sense of excitement, a unique bargain hunt for a short time, turning shopping into a small adventure. This element was described as a crucial part of Kmart's great in-store experience. It showcased the liveliness, surprise, and a touch of drama in every Kmart visit. Furthermore, another highlight that set Kmart apart was the presence of Kmart cafes right inside the store. This wasn't just a fast food area. It was a place where customers could rest, relax, and enjoy a hot meal immediately after or during their shopping trip. The menu at Kmart cafes evoked many memories of traditional, cozy, American-style dishes. Customers could find items like crispy fried chicken, Salisbury steak with rich gravy, pot roast with mashed potatoes and savory gravy, along with toast and butter. Many still vividly remember favorite snacks like hot pretzels, steak and cheese subs, chicken and dumplings, or sweetbread and refreshing slush puppies. Kmart cafes didn't just offer food, they created a community space where families and friends could gather and share moments after shopping. This made Kmart a complete destination, not just for buying goods, but also for experiencing. Kmart's shopping environment also had its unique characteristics. Stores often featured beige tile floors, reflecting the light from fluorescent lamps above, creating a spacious yet friendly atmosphere. You could hear the popcorn machine crackling and a sense of anticipation in the air for the next blue light special. Kmart was advertised as better than any store you've ever known, with a commitment to delivering quality, friendliness, and warmth with time-saving service. These elements contributed to creating a comfortable and reliable shopping environment. Additionally, the layaway system was another familiar feature of Kmart. This system allowed customers to pay for desired items gradually over a period, then pick them up once fully paid. This was especially helpful for families on a tight budget or those wanting to purchase larger items without having to pay the full amount up front. Layaway demonstrated Kmart's understanding of its customers' financial needs. And of course, the image of staff in mint green uniforms was also an indispensable part of Kmart memories. These uniforms created a professional and consistent look, contributing to the brand's friendly, easily recognizable image. With all these features, from the dramatic blue light special, cozy Kmart cafes, and friendly shopping environment to convenient services like layaway, Kmart didn't just sell products, it sold an experience, a part of the childhood and memories of many generations of Americans. It became a symbol of convenience, value, and an American lifestyle. However, even kings can fall. Kmart's story isn't just about spectacular success, it's also a valuable lesson in adaptability and innovation in a highly competitive market. What began to drag this empire down? The decline begins. The 1990s was not only a decade of cultural shifts, but also a period of strong transformation for the retail industry. For Kmart, this was the beginning of a fierce battle they couldn't win. The rise of major competitors. While Kmart was enjoying its dominant position, a new storm was brewing on the horizon, and it came from a competitor Kmart had underestimated: Walmart. Walmart, under the leadership of Sam Walton, adopted a different business philosophy, focusing on supply chain efficiency and lower prices. Walmart's rise was unstoppable. In November 1990, a historic event occurred. Walmart officially surpassed Kmart to become the #1 retailer in America. This was not just a change in position, but a clear warning of what was to come. After being overtaken by Walmart, Kmart began to struggle to compete on price. Walmart's business model focused on cutting costs to the absolute minimum and passing those benefits on to customers through low prices. Kmart, with its older cost structure and systems, simply couldn't keep up with this price war. And it wasn't just Walmart. Another competitor was also growing rapidly with its own distinct style and strategy: Target. While Walmart focused on the lowest prices, Target positioned itself as a cheap retailer but with style. Target attracted a specific customer segment, those who wanted affordable products that were still aesthetically pleasing and trendier. As a result, both Walmart and Target together gobbled up Kmart's market. Walmart dominated the segment of customers seeking the absolute lowest prices, while Target attracted those who wanted a combination of affordability and modern design. Kmart, caught between these two powerful rivals, gradually lost market share and failed to find its unique niche in the market. This was a severe blow to Kmart's king status, demonstrating the rapid changes in the retail industry's competitive landscape. Strategic mistakes leading to weakness. External competition was only part of the problem. Kmart itself made a series of strategic errors, pushing itself onto a path of decline. One of the first and most noticeable mistakes was the loss of identity. In 1990, Kmart's leadership decided to change its iconic logo. The old logo, with its italicized red K and Aquamart, was very familiar to customers. But the new logo featured a block K with Mart written inside, accompanied by uniforms and store signs changing to red and white. This change wasn't merely visual. It was a severance from the familiar image customers had grown attached to. Many believe this made Kmart bland, losing the familiar details that made Kmart Kmart. It was no longer the Kmart they once knew and loved. Next, Kmart made a grave error by eliminating its unique selling points that had defined its brand. The blue light special, a symbol of excitement and bargain hunting, was removed in 1991. Although there were brief revivals later, its absence took away a significant part of the great in-store experience. Customers no longer felt that sense of anticipation for surprises when visiting Kmart. Similarly, the partnership with Little Caesars led to the removal of most Kmart cafes. These cozy eateries, where customers could rest and enjoy a meal, disappeared. This stripped away another crucial aspect of the Kmart shopping experience, transforming it from an all-in-one destination into merely a retail store. Eliminating these unique elements caused Kmart to lose the familiar details that made Kmart Kmart, making it less appealing and harder to distinguish from competitors. Another fatal mistake was the lack of investment in technology. While Walmart was building modern and responsive supply chain management systems, Kmart lagged significantly. They failed to invest in computer technology to manage their supply chain efficiently. This led to serious problems like empty shelves and products piled high in storage rooms. Customers would come to the store and couldn't find the products they wanted, while warehouses were full of items that weren't being displayed. In contrast, Walmart always ensured their shelves were fully stocked, immediately meeting customer demand. The inefficiency in inventory and supply chain management eroded customer trust and caused significant losses. Experts stated that companies that don't adapt die, and Kmart is a prime example. They made no significant innovations for 2 crucial decades. While the retail market constantly changed with the emergence of new competitors and modern technology, Kmart clung to old ways, refusing to adapt to keep up with trends. Finally, but no less important, was poor management and financial mismanagement. Kmart accumulated massive debt and lacked the funds to operate stores effectively. They didn't have enough resources to upgrade outdated systems or refresh store appearances. This made Kmart stores increasingly messy and dirty, creating a negative impression on customers. Analysts blamed a wave of incompetent and idiotic management for running the company. Furthermore, Kmart maintained high dividend payouts, which significantly reduced the amount of money available for reinvestment and store improvements. This was a controversial financial decision, prioritizing short-term shareholder benefits over the company's sustainable development. All these factors, from fierce competition, loss of identity, removal of unique features, lack of technology investment, to poor management and financial mistakes, created a perfect storm, slowly pushing Kmart to the brink of decline. Those strategic mistakes ultimately led to the inevitable consequences, bankruptcies, and the gradual disappearance of an icon. Kmart's fight for survival had begun. The battle of bankruptcies and disappearance. Decades of accumulated mistakes eventually pushed Kmart to the brink. Kmart's story from here became a series of legal battles and desperate attempts to stay afloat. First bankruptcy, 2002. As the 2000s began, Kmart faced increasingly insurmountable financial challenges. Pressure from rivals like Walmart and Target, combined with internal errors, made the situation unsalvageable. Finally, on January 22, 2002, Kmart had to make a painful decision: file for Chapter 11, bankruptcy protection. This was shocking news for many Americans who had grown up with Kmart. Amidst this crisis, serious allegations were made against the then CEO, Charles Conaway. He was accused of misleading shareholders and wasting company money for personal purposes. These accusations further eroded confidence in Kmart's leadership and financial situation. The restructuring process under bankruptcy protection was an extremely difficult period. To cut costs and try to remain operational, Kmart was forced to make painful decisions. Over 300 stores across the U.S. were closed. This not only caused inconvenience for millions of customers, but also led to the layoff of approximately 34,000 employees. This was a colossal number, impacting the lives of tens of thousands of families. However, just when it seemed Kmart was at its end, an investor appeared with faith in the company's potential. That was Eddie Lampert. Lampert believed that the immense real estate value Kmart owned was worth saving. He invested and helped Kmart emerge from bankruptcy. Kmart returned, but on a smaller scale and with an uncertain future. The disastrous merger with Sears, 2005. After narrowly escaping bankruptcy for the first time, Kmart, under Eddie Lampert's leadership, made a move that shook the retail industry. In 2004, Kmart acquired the struggling department store chain, Sears, for $11 billion. This deal formed a new conglomerate called Sears Holdings. The idea behind this merger was to create a retail giant, combining the strengths of two major brands. However, this was considered a disaster. The combination of Kmart and Sears did not create the synergy expected. Instead, it exposed the weaknesses of both. Kmart's loyal customers, who sought discounted products and basic household goods, weren't interested in Sears' higher-end tools or fashion items. Conversely, Sears customers, familiar with Sears' characteristic quality and service, were also not keen on Kmart's retail style. These two customer bases neither overlapped nor complemented each other. They were entirely distinct. Eddie Lampert, who placed a huge bet on this deal, is estimated to have burned over $28 billion on this disastrous merger. Instead of saving both brands, this transaction seemed to drag both Kmart and Sears deeper into financial crisis and market share loss. Second bankruptcy, 2018, and a series of closures. Following the failed merger with Sears, the path of Sears Holdings, the parent company of both Sears and Kmart, became increasingly rocky. Years of continuous losses and mounting debt made the financial situation unsustainable. By 2018, Sears Holdings had to file for bankruptcy for a second time. This was a clear sign that previous efforts were insufficient to save both brands. Throughout the 2010s, the image of many Kmart stores became dismal. They were described as outdated and in disrepair. Empty shelves, old facilities, and messy spaces became a common sight. These negative shopping experiences further pushed customers away from Kmart towards more modern competitors. To cope with the worsening financial situation, hundreds of Sears and Kmart stores were closed in successive rounds of cutbacks. This was a desperate attempt to downsize and reduce cost burdens. Remarkably, during the 2017 holiday season, Kmart and Sears did not run any television commercials, an unprecedented move for major retailers. Instead, they focused on digital marketing, a sign of budget shortages and an effort to shift marketing strategy. However, these efforts were not enough to halt the decline. The prolonged battle with bankruptcy eroded Kmart, leaving it a mere shadow of its former self. Current status in the U.S. Today, the once vibrant image of Kmart has almost completely vanished from the U.S. retail map. As of early 2023, only 2 Kmart stores remained in the continental U.S. One of them, the store in Bridgehampton, New York, closed on October 20th, 2024. This marked another setback for Kmart's presence. Currently, only a single Kmart location in Miami, Florida is still operating. Even this store only operates within its former garden center space, with most of the main building having been leased to another retailer. This demonstrates Kmart's significant reduction in size and functionality. Additionally, a few other Kmart stores still operate in U.S. territories, including 3 stores in the U.S. Virgin Islands and 1 in Tamuning, Guam. These locations continue to serve local communities, but cannot compare to the vast network Kmart once had. Notably, Kmart ceased all operations in Puerto Rico in October 2022. From being America's discount superstore king, Kmart has become a relic of the past for most Americans. a sad story of a retail empire's collapse. Yet, surprisingly, in a faraway part of the world, the Kmart story is entirely different. A story of unexpected success, proving that Kmart still has potential if managed correctly. Kmart Australia, a different story. While Kmart in the US was struggling with bankruptcy and downsizing on the other side of the world, Kmart is a brilliant success story. This shows that Kmart isn't inherently unsustainable. The problem lies in how it's operated and adapted to the market. Unexpected success in the international market. When we look at Kmart US and its decline, Kmart Australia presents a complete contrast. Kmart Australia has not only survived, but thrived. Currently, the chain operates an impressive network of 323 stores across Australia and New Zealand. This demonstrates Kmart's strong scale and presence in this regional market. The key factor making the difference is that Kmart Australia is owned by the Wesfarmers Group, a large and experienced conglomerate in the retail sector. This independent management has allowed Kmart Australia to develop its own strategy, suited to the local market, without being affected by the mistakes of its parent company in the US. The Kmart Australia brand is renowned for offering high-quality products at low prices. This is a rare combination in the retail industry, and it has attracted a large customer base. Kmart Australia is considered one of the cheapest department store destinations in Australia, making it a preferred choice for smart consumers looking to shop affordably while ensuring quality. Statistics speak for themselves. Approximately 22.6% of the Australian population, equivalent to 3.6 million people, shopped at Kmart within a 4-week period. This indicates Kmart Australia's widespread popularity and influence in the daily lives of people there. And not only does it have a large customer base, Kmart Australia also generates significant profits. In 2021, Kmart Australia contributed $693 million in profit to its parent company, Wesfarmers. This figure is a complete opposite to the continuous losses of Kmart US and Sears Holdings. Kmart Australia's successful strategy is highly commendable. They focused on no-frills, fashionable, bold products. This means they didn't try to compete in every segment, but focused on essential, highly functional products that were still on trend. More importantly, Kmart Australia heavily developed its private labels. This provided exclusivity and differentiation for customers, as they couldn't find those products anywhere else. This strategy is compared to being very similar to Target's strategy in the US, showing that Kmart Australia learned from other successful models and applied them flexibly. Professor Mark Cohen stated that Kmart's rebirth in Australia could have helped Kmart US find a way out of its dismal situation. This is clear evidence that the Kmart brand still has value and potential. It simply needed the right strategy and leadership. Challenges with online delivery in Australia. Although Kmart Australia has achieved brilliant success with its physical stores and product strategy, it has not been immune to challenges in the digital age. Specifically, Kmart Australia is still facing numerous issues with its online delivery service, especially with its shipping partner, Couriers Please. Customers frequently complain about common problems such as delayed deliveries, not receiving orders, inaccurate shipping information, and difficulty contacting customer support. These negative experiences have caused great frustration for shoppers. As a result, many shoppers have expressed that they will no longer order online from Kmart due to negative experiences with the delivery service. This shows that even a successful company like Kmart Australia needs to continuously improve and adapt, especially in the e-commerce sector, where customer experience is a key factor. This story is a reminder that success is never permanent, and maintaining excellence requires continuous effort. The story of Kmart, both in the US and Australia, holds profound lessons for any business. So, what can we glean from the decline of one icon and its rise elsewhere? Lessons learned. The collapse of Kmart in the US isn't just a business tragedy. It's a classic case study of what can happen when a business loses its connection with its market and customers. Complacency and lack of innovation are fatal flaws. The biggest lesson from Kmart is about complacency. Kmart became complacent with its king status, stopped innovating, and failed to recognize market changes. When Kmart became messy and dirty, it wasn't just a hygiene issue, it was a symptom of a lack of concern for customer experience and the shopping environment. Experts bluntly stated, success requires competence and innovation requires intelligence. Kmart had neither. This emphasizes that even the largest companies need continuous innovation to survive. The importance of understanding customers and adapting. Kmart needed to invest in technology to increase efficiency and performance. This is what Walmart did exceptionally well. Successful retailers always pay attention to both internal operations and what's happening around them, including competitors and the global market. They must act and reinvest continuously to catch up and lead trends. Failing to adapt to market changes and evolving customer shopping habits is the path to failure. Customer experience is core. Kmart missed focusing on customer experience. This isn't just about having products on shelves or low prices. Experts emphasize the need to create a memorable shopping experience, connecting digital with physical stores through emotion. Kmart lost emotional elements like the Blue Light Special and Kmart cafes, making shopping bland and unremarkable. In summary, Kmart collapsed due to a combination of factors. First was poor management and lack of vision. Next was insufficient investment in information technology and supply chain, leading to inefficient inventory management and empty shelves. Finally, Kmart missed opportunities to compete in the rapidly changing retail market, especially with the rise of e-commerce. The sad reality is that both Kmart and Sears are hanging by a thread. With only a few Kmart stores left in the continental US, it's possible both brands will completely disappear in the near future. From a once iconic symbol, Kmart is now just a distant memory for many Americans. Their story is a powerful reminder of the brutal nature of the retail market and the importance of continuous adaptation and innovation. Do you have any memories of Kmart? What was your favorite Kmart cafe dish? Or a memorable Blue Light Special moment? Share your stories in the comments below. 20 grocery stores that no longer exist. Do you remember shopping at A&P, Bohack, or Jitney Jungle? Grocery stores come and go, leaving behind stories, nostalgia, and even a few surprises. Join us as we rediscover some beloved supermarket chains from the past. Stores that once shaped our neighborhoods, but are now lost to history. A&P, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company. Back in 1859, before supermarkets were even a thing, a small tea-selling business opened its doors in New York City. Known simply as A&P, short for the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, they started by mailing tea straight to people's homes. It was a smart idea, ahead of its time. But tea alone wasn't enough for A&P. They dreamed bigger. By 1912, that humble little tea business took a giant step forward, opening their very first grocery store. It was modest at first, but soon A&P exploded in popularity. Over the next decades, they expanded quickly, popping up in towns and cities all across America. By the middle of the 20th century, nearly everyone knew the name A&P. It became the go-to place for weekly groceries, famous for reliable service, fresh products, and affordable prices. But times change, and sadly, A&P couldn't keep up. Competition from bigger, flashier supermarkets became fierce. Modern stores offered things customers wanted: larger variety, better prices, convenience, and new technology. Struggling to adapt, A&P eventually lost its footing. By 2015, after fighting bravely for survival, The beloved grocery icon had no choice but to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, closing all its doors forever and leaving behind only memories. Dominick's. Starting from humble roots back in 1918, this family-run market steadily grew, eventually becoming one of the city's favorite places to shop for groceries. At its peak, Dominick's boasted over 70 stores scattered across Chicagoland. Shoppers loved its familiar aisles, neighborhood feel, and friendly faces. But the grocery industry can be brutal, and Dominick's soon found itself squeezed from all sides. On one end, big box discount stores like Walmart and Target were luring customers away with unbeatable prices. On the other, upscale markets like Mariano's and Whole Foods began offering shoppers something Dominick's couldn't: a luxurious, trendy experience complete with gourmet foods and organic options. Another major hurdle for Dominick's was the high cost of labor, since the store relied heavily on unionized workers. The expenses piled up, and Dominick's simply couldn't match the lower prices offered by its competitors. Gradually, loyal customers drifted away, opting for cheaper prices or fancier shopping experiences elsewhere. Ultimately, the financial pressure proved too great. Dominick's closed its doors permanently in 2013, leaving Chicagoans to fondly remember a once-beloved local chain, now lost to the rapidly changing times. Do you have a special memory from any of these forgotten supermarkets? Share your story. Alpha Beta. Long before modern megastores ruled the suburbs, Alpha Beta was the go-to neighborhood grocery store. Founded in California back in 1910, Alpha Beta quickly became more than just a place to pick up groceries. It turned into the heart of community life. In fact, during the vibrant years of the 1950s, Alpha Beta earned itself an affectionate nickname. Locals called it their country club. Why? Because it was the perfect spot to bump into neighbors, swap gossip, and reconnect with friends. At its height, Alpha Beta spread far beyond California, popping up in suburban neighborhoods all across America. Families loved its friendly atmosphere and dependable service. Yet, despite decades of popularity, Alpha Beta eventually faced tough challenges. By the late 1970s, competition was growing fierce, and the beloved store began to struggle. In 1994, Ralph's grocery chain stepped in and bought Alpha Beta. For many loyal customers, this marked the beginning of the end. Within a year, every remaining Alpha Beta location was converted into a Ralph's store, erasing the familiar signs and nostalgic charm. By 1995, the Alpha Beta name disappeared completely, leaving behind only memories of a grocery store that was truly more than just a store. It was a community tradition. Jitney Jungle. In the South, especially around Mississippi, you couldn't mention grocery shopping without someone bringing up Jitney Jungle. Founded in 1919, this friendly, family-owned store quickly spread throughout the Southeast, becoming a familiar neighborhood sight. But Jitney Jungle wasn't just another grocery store, it was ahead of its time. In the 1920s, they embraced the revolutionary concept of self-service shopping. No longer would shoppers need to wait behind a counter. Instead, they could browse aisles freely and choose products themselves. By the 1930s, Jitney Jungle was riding the supermarket wave, offering larger selections, fresher produce, and more convenience than ever. Fast forward to the 1970s, and Jitney Jungle again adapted, transitioning into big discount mega markets that offered shoppers unbeatable prices on everyday items. Through all these dramatic changes, something remarkable happened. Jitney Jungle remained a privately owned, family-operated chain, holding on to its southern charm and community roots all the way up to 1996. But eventually, even this beloved regional favorite faced challenges too tough to overcome. In 2000, Winn-Dixie bought out the struggling chain, rebranding the beloved Jitney Jungle stores and quietly bringing an end to a cherished Southern tradition that had endured for more than 80 memorable years. Thank you for watching. To continue with more content, comment yes to let us know you're still following. Pantry Pride. Back in the 1960s, a grocery store called Pantry Pride started popping up all over Florida. But it didn't begin life as Pantry Pride. Its origin story is actually pretty unusual. It all began when the popular food fair chain bought out a smaller competitor named Best Markets. Best Markets had been selling their own private label groceries under the Pantry Pride brand, and shoppers loved it. So, when Food Fair took over, they scrapped the Best Markets name and decided to rename the entire chain after that beloved private label brand. Pantry Pride was born. Pantry Pride quickly grew popular, expanding far beyond Florida. At its peak, it operated over 440 bustling stores across 7 states along the East Coast and even made its way into the sunny Bahamas. Customers appreciated the affordable prices, quality products, and friendly neighborhood feel. But success didn't last forever. By the 1980s, competition got fierce, and Pantry Pride struggled to keep up with bigger chains offering more selection and better deals. The stores started losing customers and slowly began slipping away from public view. Fresh and Easy. When Fresh and Easy first opened its doors, it wasn't your typical American grocery store. It was actually a bold experiment launched by Tesco, a huge supermarket chain from the UK, aiming to capture the hearts and wallets of American shoppers. Their idea was simple yet appealing, creating convenient neighborhood stores where busy families could quickly grab fresh, healthy groceries without fuss. At its peak, Fresh and Easy had grown impressively, opening more than 150 locations across several states. Shoppers appreciated their unique approach, which combined convenient store quickness with supermarket-quality produce, prepared foods, and healthier options. But despite this promising start, Fresh and Easy struggled almost immediately. They faced a long list of problems. The company never fully invested enough money into marketing, so many potential customers didn't even know what made Fresh and Easy different. Distribution issues meant shelves were sometimes empty, turning shoppers away frustrated. Plus, the store's mission, healthy convenience shopping, wasn't communicated clearly enough to attract loyal customers. Eventually, these challenges proved too great to overcome. Fresh and Easy filed for bankruptcy not once, but twice, with the final filing in 2015 marking the end. Grand Union. If you lived in the Northeast, especially New York, Grand Union was probably a familiar name in your household. This grocery chain was a neighborhood staple for decades, offering shoppers a dependable spot to stock up on everything they needed. At its height, Grand Union proudly ran more than 220 supermarkets across 6 states: New York, Vermont, New Jersey, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania. But what made Grand Union truly special was how carefully they tailored each store to fit the community it served. Shoppers could always count on finding their favorite brand name items, along with affordable, high-quality private label groceries. Some Grand Union locations even went the extra mile, featuring cozy cafes where neighbors could chat over coffee, or convenient pharmacies that saved busy families from making extra stops. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last. By 2001, Grand Union found itself facing tough financial times, driven by increasing competition and rising costs. The company had no choice but to file for bankruptcy. Shortly afterward, C&S Wholesale Grocers stepped in to buy the struggling chain, quickly passing it along to Tops Friendly Markets just a year later. Hinky Dinky. In Omaha, Nebraska, back in 1925, a grocery store with an unforgettable name opened its doors, Hinky Dinky. Right from the start, it faced a quirky challenge. It had to compete with another supermarket chain called Piggly Wiggly. With names so similar and playful, Hinky Dinky knew it needed something special to stand apart. And it delivered. Hinky Dinky wasn't afraid to innovate, quickly introducing features that amazed shoppers at the time. Imagine the surprise when customers first encountered automatic doors opening smoothly as they walked up. Something commonplace today, but revolutionary back then. And checkout counters made shopping quicker, easier, and more efficient. Later, Hinky Dinky even introduced ATM-like machines inside their stores, letting customers grab cash conveniently, long before such technology was common. But despite decades of innovation and loyal shoppers, things changed when Cullum acquired Hinky Dinky in 1972. Under new management, the beloved stores slowly lost their sparkle and began to decline. By 1985, Cullum decided to sell the remaining Hinky Dinky locations, and the stores changed hands once again in 2000. Sadly, these sales couldn't reverse the fading fortunes. Eventually, the lively, pioneering chain quietly disappeared. Cash and carry. If you lived in Florida during the mid-20th century, chances are you remember cash and carry. This local grocery chain got its start on the streets of Tampa, where it all began with something simple, selling fresh fruits and vegetables right off the cart. From those humble beginnings, the business quickly grew into something special. By the 1960s, they had 9 bustling grocery stores across the state, and folks kept coming back for one big reason: speed. Cash and carry made a name for itself with fast, friendly service. They had a golden rule: if more than 3 people were waiting in a checkout line, they'd open another lane right away. For shoppers, that kind of efficiency was pure gold, something you'd be hard-pressed to find even in today's high-tech supermarkets. In 1979, the well-known Lucky Stores Company bought out Cash and Carry. The chain kept growing and eventually reached 117 stores at its peak, but expansion came at a cost. The grocery world was changing fast, and intense competition from bigger national chains made it hard for Cash and Carry to keep up. After years of decline, the once proud Florida favorite quietly closed its final store in 2007, ending an era many still remember fondly. Eagle Food Centers. For decades, Eagle Food Centers was a beloved name in grocery shopping across the Midwest, especially in Iowa and Illinois. Families in these communities counted on Eagle for their weekly grocery runs, thanks to friendly service, fresh produce, and great prices. At its height, Eagle proudly operated more than 60 supermarkets, each one buzzing with loyal customers who valued both convenience and hometown charm. But the grocery business can be tough, and Eagle eventually found itself facing fierce competition. Mega retailers and larger supermarket chains moved into the area, drawing shoppers away with lower prices and bigger selections. Eagle Food Centers fought to stay afloat, but the pressure steadily grew too intense. By the year 2000, after years of struggle, Eagle filed for bankruptcy, signaling the beginning of the end. Shoppers watched sadly as their familiar neighborhood stores gradually closed their doors. By 2003, every Eagle Food Center had shut down completely, marking the end of an era. Big Bear. When Big Bear first opened its doors in Ohio back in 1934, right in the middle of the Great Depression, owner Wayne Brown knew he had to do something bold to stand out. So he came up with a wild idea. Literally. Wayne put a real live bear right at the front of his store in a specially built cage directly across from Ohio State University. It was impossible to step inside without stopping to stare in awe at this furry attraction. People loved it, and soon everyone in town was talking about the store with the bear. Eventually, the original bear grew too large for the cage, so in 1942, he moved to a more comfortable home at the Columbus Zoo. But Wayne wasn't done using bears to create excitement. New bears continued making appearances, especially at grand openings of other locations, delighting customers of all ages. Big Bear supermarkets weren't just about bears, though. Wayne Brown was smart about business, using volume buying to keep prices low and attract loyal shoppers. His strategy worked brilliantly, growing the chain to almost 90 popular stores across the region. But times changed, and bigger chains eventually began undercutting Big Bear's famously low prices. After being bought by the Penn Traffic Company in 1989, Big Bear struggled to keep up. Finally, in 2004, the last Big Bear closed its doors forever, leaving behind a legacy filled with nostalgia and memories of a grocery chain that dared to be different. Food Fair. If you grew up in the Northeast or Mid-Atlantic regions, chances are you remember shopping at Food Fair. This beloved grocery chain got its start back in the roaring 1920s in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. From just one modest store, Food Fair quickly expanded, riding a wave of popularity thanks to its friendly atmosphere and affordable prices. At its peak, the chain boasted an impressive 500 stores across the United States, becoming one of the nation's top 5 supermarket brands. Although Food Fair was mainly concentrated along the East Coast, they weren't afraid to branch out. They established a presence far beyond their home turf, opening locations in sunny Florida and even as far west as California. Customers loved their fresh produce, extensive selections, and welcoming environment, qualities that made them a trusted staple for decades. But grocery store competition grew fierce in the 1970s and 80s, forcing Food Fair to make tough decisions. In an effort to reinvent themselves and stay relevant, the stores were gradually transformed into pantry pride supermarkets. Unfortunately, the rebranding didn't capture the magic of the original Food Fair, and by the mid-1980s, the iconic Food Fair name had completely disappeared, leaving longtime customers with only fond memories of simpler times. Deschamps. Back in the 1920s, in Mobile, Alabama, Deschamps grocery store opened its doors and quickly captured the hearts of Southern shoppers. People flocked to Deschamps because it offered something fresh and exciting, the freedom of self-service shopping. Instead of relying on a store clerk, customers could wander the aisles themselves, picking and choosing exactly what they wanted. By 1929, Deschamps' innovative approach had turned it into a local favorite, with 6 thriving stores scattered throughout Mobile. Over the decades, the popularity of Deschamps only grew, spreading far beyond Alabama. By the end of the 20th century, Deschamps had expanded impressively, operating more than 100 stores across the South. Their blend of convenience, affordable prices, and friendly service kept customers coming back year after year. In 1996, recognizing Deschamps' deep roots in the community, Mobile honored the original location by declaring it an official historic site. But even this prestigious recognition couldn't shield the grocery chain from economic realities. In 1997, Deschamps was sold to Jitney Jungle for a staggering $213 million. Unfortunately, Jitney Jungle itself was struggling, and when Winn-Dixie purchased both chains a few years later, Deschamps disappeared entirely. Ultra Foods. If you lived around Chicago or northern Indiana in the 1980s and 90s, there's a good chance you hunted for bargains at Ultra Foods. Known for its incredible deals, Ultra Foods offered customers deep discounts, often slashing prices by 25 to 30% compared to traditional grocery stores. That meant families could stretch their grocery budgets further, making Ultra Foods a beloved staple in the communities they served. At their peak, Ultra Foods operated around 16 bustling locations. Each store was filled with shoppers who knew they'd walk out with more groceries and more money left in their pockets. Ultra Foods quickly earned a reputation as the place to shop if you were serious about savings. But competition in the grocery business can be unforgiving, and eventually, Ultra Foods faced some steep challenges. Larger supermarket chains and discount giants started matching and beating their low prices, squeezing Ultra Foods out of the market. By 2017, after years of battling increasingly fierce competitors, the final Ultra Foods store was bought out by Strack and Van Til, a popular Indiana-based grocery chain. With that sale, the familiar Ultra Foods name faded into grocery store history, remembered fondly by customers who appreciated the unbeatable deals and community spirit. Weingardens. In 1901, a Polish immigrant named Joseph Weingarten opened his first small grocery store in Houston, Texas, planting seeds for what would become a beloved shopping tradition in the Lone Star State. Joseph worked hard, built trust within his neighborhood, and by 1920, proudly opened a second location. From there, Weingarten's blossomed into one of Texas's most popular local grocery chains, expanding steadily until eventually reaching around 70 thriving stores. Families across Texas loved Weingarten's. It was the kind of place where you knew your cashier by name, and shopping was as much about community as it was about groceries. Fresh products, fair prices, and a warm, inviting atmosphere kept customers coming back week after week, generation after generation. But even beloved local businesses sometimes get caught up in changing times. In 1980, Weingarten's was sold to Grand Union, a much larger grocery company. Grand Union soon began selling off the former Weingarten locations, mostly to supermarket giants like Randall's and Safeway. Piece by piece, the familiar Weingarten stores disappeared, absorbed into larger chains. Which grocery store mentioned today surprised you the most? Let me know below. Kohl's. Today, when you say Kohl's, everyone immediately thinks of clothing racks, home decor, and discount deals. But long before Kohl's became a well-known department store chain, it was actually a thriving grocery business. It all started in 1927 when Maxwell Kohl, a Polish immigrant chasing the American dream, opened a small neighborhood grocery in Milwaukee. Kohl didn't stop at just one store. He was ambitious. Over the years, he opened additional locations and soon built his grocery empire into the largest supermarket chain in Milwaukee. And Maxwell was ahead of his time, too. While most grocery stores stuck strictly to food, Kohl's locations offered customers convenience on a new level. They featured attached drugstores, liquor shops, and a wide range of products, creating the blueprint for today's modern supermarket. In the 1970s, Kohl decided it was time for a change and sold a controlling interest in his grocery business to a subsidiary of the British American Tobacco Company. Later on, the grocery stores eventually fell under the ownership of A&P. Unfortunately, under A&P's management, Kohl's grocery stores struggled to compete, and in 2003, they closed the doors for good, marking the end of an era. Marsh Supermarkets. The story began back in 1931, when a single store opened its doors, quickly gaining a loyal following. Over the years, Marsh expanded steadily, becoming an essential part of daily life for thousands of Midwestern families. Customers loved Marsh for its hometown charm, fresh produce, and community-friendly atmosphere. At its peak, Marsh Supermarkets operated dozens of locations, and each one felt personal, like your neighborhood grocery should. Generations of shoppers built their weekly routines around trips to Marsh, where they knew they'd find friendly faces and quality products every time. But things took an unfortunate turn when Marsh fell under the control of a private equity firm. Unlike previous owners who understood grocery retail and the local communities, these new managers struggled to navigate the competitive supermarket landscape. Customers noticed the changes: empty shelves, reduced selection, and slipping service standards. The slow decline was painful to watch, and eventually, Marsh Supermarkets had no choice but to file for bankruptcy in 2017. Minyard food stores. In 1932, right in the thick of the Great Depression, a Dallas postal worker named E.W. Minyard made a bold move. He bought a small grocery store in East Dallas, not just as a business venture, but mainly to provide jobs for his two younger brothers during those tough economic times. From these modest beginnings, Minyard food stores quickly became a cherished part of local neighborhoods, known for their friendly, family-oriented atmosphere. Over the years, the Minyard family steadily grew their business, and by 1987, they proudly operated 62 Minyard food stores along with 10 Sack and Save locations. By the late 1990s, Minyard was the third largest grocery chain in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, right behind major names like Tom Thumb and Albertsons. Minyard even branched into gas stations, acquiring a dozen by 1999. But after 7 decades of family ownership, the Minyards decided it was time to step away. In 2004, they sold the chain to Texas 2 LLC, marking a turning point. Although the stores initially kept their familiar names, pressure from larger supercenters slowly took its toll, causing locations to close one by one. In 2011, Minyard was purchased by RLS Supermarkets, but by then, only 10 stores remained. Finally, in 2017, the last Minyard store shut its doors forever, closing the chapter on a beloved grocery brand deeply rooted in Dallas history. National Tea. Founded early in the 20th century, by 1920, this thriving grocery store had grown astonishingly fast, expanding to more than 1,600 locations nationwide. At a time when grocery shopping meant small local markets, National Tea's success was remarkable. Annual sales soared to nearly $90 million, a staggering figure for the era. But then the Great Depression hit, bringing hardship that few could escape. National Tea felt the pinch immediately. Many of its bustling stores shuttered, unable to weather the economic storm. Yet somehow, the company persevered through these tough times, maintaining a strong presence even as other businesses folded. For decades after, National Tea remained a leading grocery brand in the United States. Families relied on their neighborhood National Tea stores for affordable groceries, fresh produce, and dependable service. Unfortunately, nothing lasts forever. In the 1970s, competition grew tougher, and by 1976, National Tea was sold to A&P, one of its biggest rivals. With that sale, the familiar National Tea brand slowly faded into history, leaving behind memories of a time when a trip to the grocery store was simpler, friendlier, and truly part of the neighborhood routine. Victory Supermarkets. Victory Supermarkets had a uniquely patriotic beginning. Founded in 1923 by brothers James and Louis DeGeronimo, this Massachusetts-based grocery chain was named in tribute to the American victory in World War I. It was a powerful name, meant to symbolize hope, strength, and community spirit at a time when people needed it most. Over the decades, Victory Supermarkets expanded steadily. Each new store they opened felt like a genuine part of the local neighborhood. Families trusted Victory for fresh produce, reliable prices, and friendly, familiar faces behind every counter. At its peak, Victory operated about 20 bustling locations, providing jobs for over 2,600 people. Customers didn't just shop there. They connected with their neighbors, chatted with store employees, and enjoyed that special feeling of community pride. But after more than 80 years of success, changes came. In 2004, the Hannaford Brothers Company purchased Victory Supermarkets, absorbing the beloved local chain into its larger operation. With that purchase, the name Victory disappeared from storefronts, ending a grocery tradition deeply rooted in American pride and local history. Bohack. Founded way back in the late 1800s, Bohack spent 115 years serving neighborhoods across the city and eventually expanded into nearby states like New Jersey and Connecticut. Bohack became a familiar sight, known for its friendly staff, reliable selection, and quality products. For generations, New Yorkers counted on Bohack for their daily essentials, making it part of their weekly routines. In its prime, Bohack was more than just groceries. It was woven into the very fabric of community life. Neighbors met neighbors while shopping, and store clerks knew customers by name. This personal touch kept families coming back year after year, trusting Bohack for everything from fresh produce to household staples. But all good things must come to an end. In 1986, after decades of steady success, Bohack was acquired by grocery giant A&P. For a while, the Bohack name remained alive under its new ownership, but eventually the pressures of the modern grocery world caught up. When A&P itself folded in 2015, the Bohack brand also faded into history, marking the quiet end of a beloved local chain that New Yorkers still remember fondly today.